Yo, what's up, everyone? It's Gabba Shreds. Today I'm going to be ranking every Sinister Gates guitar solo. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Only about 3% are subscribed. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers.
The only rule is that the song has to have a solo to be listed, and we will be going in chronological order from release date, starting with Waking the Fallen, so don't get mad if I don't include songs from Sounding the Seventh Trumpet.
She said that you walked away!
The first solo featured on this album is Chapter 4. This is a solid solo. Nothing too crazy or special. I think it's a good average B-tier solo.
Next is Reminiscence. I don't know if this is really classified a solo, but nonetheless, the dual harmonies here are great. I think this one is also a solid B-tier, solo/lead harmony.
Next is Desecrate Through Reverence. Once again, another dual harmony solo. I do personally like this solo a lot, but it's not quite iconic or anything too special. It's going at the top of B tier.
Next is Eternal Rest. This solo is crazy to say the least. It definitely catches you off guard. First time listening, I hate to do this, but it's still not quite iconic or anything. Middle B tier.
All right, now we're cooking with Second Heartbeat. Instant S tier. This solo is one of my all-time favorites. It's a perfect cap off to the song. Everything is perfect from the phrasing to the shred.
Next is I Won't See You Tonight, Part 1. Since this song has multiple solos, I'm going to be doing the best one, which is the first one. Solid solo, I think it's a high B tier.
The Trump AI died, so I'm here now. Next, we have I Won't See You Tonight, Part 2. Unfortunately, in my opinion, this solo low-key sucks. Just nonsense notes. I still love Sin. Just IDK what he was doing here. D tier.
Next is Clairvoyant Disease. Technically it's two solos, but I'm going to count them together. This solo has catchy melodies that I personally like. It's going in a low A tier.
Lastly is And All Things Will End. I personally love this solo. It's not much, but it's great and filled with emotion. High a tier.
Won't lose my will to stay. I try to drive all through the night.
Starting out, we have Beast and the Harlot. Personally, it's not one of my favorites, but it's definitely iconic. It would be criminal not to put it in S tier.
Next is Burn It Down. I like how it builds up from a lead line into absolute craziness, a tier solo.
Next up is Blinded in Chains. I do like this solo. I just think it comes too early in the song and doesn't last long enough for that B tier.
Now for what you have all been expecting, Bat Country, F tier. Just kidding, it's an S tier. This solo is amazing, from start to finish.
Next up, we have Seize the Day, immediate S tier. This solo is so iconic and well composed, every note is so memorable.
Next is Sidewinder. The acoustic solo in this song is so fun and unique, another easy S tier.
Now we got the Wicked End. This was my favorite Sinister Gates solo. For a long time, the sweeps had me amazed from the first listen. S tier.
This next one is definitely underrated. Strength of the World. This is an extremely solid solo and song that I have never heard any other A7X fan talk about. It deserves an A to me.
Next is Betrayed. The solos on Betrayed are kind of lackluster to me. They're not bad, they just don't speak to me like the other ones do. C tier.
Kablamo, I absolutely love the solos on this song. If you watch my best guitar solos video, you already know. S tier all day.
Starting off, we have Critical Acclaim. The first intro solo is truly iconic, and the second one is just as good, starting off the album with an S tier.
Next is Almost Easy. The melodic bit really makes this solo. It's an almost easy S tier.
Next is Scream. To be honest, this solo would be an S if I could include the dual harmonies, but the actual solo ends when the harmonies begin, so it's an A tier.
Next is Afterlife. One of the most iconic Sin solos. S tier, no questions asked.
Next is Gunslinger. Very solid solo. It's simple, but it definitely gets the job done. A tier.
Next we have Brompton Cocktail. This solo is cool, but only lasts for a few seconds, so it's going in B. Next we have Lost. The first solo is the better one in my opinion. The double harmonies are a really pleasant listen on this one. I think it deserves a low A.
Lastly, on the self-titled, we have Dear God. This solo is definitely unique with its incorporation of the slide guitar. Although it's nothing too special, top of B tier.
Starting out, we have Demons. This solo isn't too crazy, just a few sweeps and tremolos, B tier. Next is Girl I Know. This solo is alright, it just doesn't speak to me at all, C tier. After that, we have Crossroads. Unfortunately, this is another C tier solo for me, just not a fan of the direction it goes.
Next up is Until the End. Another decent solo, it just doesn't resonate with me that much, B tier. Next is Tension. This solo isn't bad, it's just very forgettable to me, top of C tier.
Next up is The Fight. I find this solo fun to listen to, middle B tier. Next is Dancing Dead. This solo is fun because everything in the mix quiets down. Solid solo, top of B tier.
Next is St. James. This solo is alright, another forgettable solo though, bottom of B. Next is Set Me Free. This song has multiple solos. The best one is the fourth one. Great solo filled with emotion. It reminds me of Seize the Day, A tier solo.
Next is 4 a.m. This solo is pretty good with dual harmonies, top of B tier.
The Sleepy Joe AI died, so I'm here now. Next is Lost It All. I really don't like the tone on this solo at all. I prefer every lead line in this song over the solo, C tier.
You should have known that love was an evil, and years to know that you belong here, yeah.
Starting out, we have Nightmare and immediate S tier. This solo is a banger. Back to back with another S tier banger solo on Welcome to the Family. This solo has the perfect amount of shred to melody ratio.
Next up we have Danger Line. This might be the most simple Sinister Gates solo, but it just works so well to close off the song with a soft ending, low S tier. Next is Buried Alive. I'm counting the first minute and 10 seconds of the song as the first solo. The clean guitar intro solo is so iconic, another S tier for Nightmare.
Next up we have Natural Born Killer. This solo has a great build-up and release of energy and tension. It's not quite an S tier, but it's definitely a high A. Next is So Far Away. The second solo is the best solo. It's just so emotional. S tier, rest in peace the Rev.
Next up is God Hates Us. This solo has an unhinged energy to it and it's awesome. High A tier. Next is Victim. The second solo is the best. It has a great energy that I enjoy. High B tier.
Next is Tonight the World Dies. This solo is pretty lackluster. In my opinion, it is pushed to the back of the mix, behind the vocals, and doesn't serve much purpose. C tier. Lastly is Save Me. First off, the intro solo is an instant S tier. The second solo is also an easy S tier. Following that, you have possibly the best instrumental break in metal from 445 to 625, showcasing how the band are masters at their instruments.
First off, we have Not Ready to Die. This solo is great with nice tone and a melody that makes you feel like you're fighting zombies in game, high A tier. Next is Carry On. I don't think this solo is particularly that good. There's really nothing memorable about this one at all, C tier.
Watch your tongue or have it come from your head. Save your life by keeping whispers unsaid. Children roam the streets, now opens a war.
Firstly, we have Shepherd of Fire, immediate S tier. This solo is straight fire. Every single note on this solo is so tasteful and awesome. Next is the title track. Even though this song is way overplayed, it still has an amazing solo. The melodies are nice, and the shreddy part doesn't feel out of place. Solid S tier.
Next is Doing Time. In all honesty, this is probably my least favorite A7X song and solo out of all of them. I find nothing redeeming, and the solo is just annoying. D tier. Next is This Means War. This solo is great with the cool effects Sin does, but the melody during the second half makes this solo so good. Crucify me in the comments, but this is one of my favorite A7X guitar melodies, and for that, S tier.
Next we have Requiem. This solo is a bit underwhelming, but it finishes strong, solid B tier. Next is Crimson Day. The first solo has a lot of emotion in it with a great melody, which I appreciate, a tier.
Next is Heretic. The first few phrases of this solo had me captivated by first listen. This is 100% a strong, solid solo, but it's not the greatest ever. Therefore, it's going near the top of A. Next is Coming Home. This is one of the longest A7X solos, I believe, and it's definitely one of the best. Throughout the whole solo, you are never bored once. Another S tier banger solo.
Next is Planets. I find this song forgettable along with the solo, C tier moving on. Lastly, we have Acid Rain. This solo is slow and elegant. I also like how it continues on and accompanies shadows while he finishes out the song. Top of A tier.
Starting out, we have the stage. This song has 3 solos, so it's tricky to pick which one to rate. I think they are all truly amazing solos, so I'm going to go with a collective high A tier. Next, we have Paradigm. This solo is cool how it breaks down into 2 parts. It also showcases how well Sin can technically play. Another A tier solo. Next, we have Sunny Disposition. This solo isn't the most memorable, but is definitely a really fun listen due to its craziness. Solid B tier.
Next we have Goddamn. This is one of the coolest solos in my opinion due to the tone effect on Sin's guitar. Solid A tier solo. Next is Creating God. This solo is cool when it plays the vocal melody on the guitar. Other than that, it's not very memorable. B tier.
Next is Angels. This technically isn't a Sinister Gates solo. It's his dad Papa Gates playing. I'm going to include it anyway though. In my opinion, it's the best solo off the album and it's mind-blowing that it's a one-take improvised solo. S tier. Next is Simulation. This solo is wild and feels like a trip of some sort. High B tier.
Next is Higher. This is my favorite song off the stage. And close second solo. Every note is memorable in this solo, in my opinion, especially the first few phrases. I'm giving this one an S tier as well. Next we have Roman Sky. This solo is epic and grand, but it's just not my forte. It's not bad though, solid B tier.
Next is Fermi Paradox. This song has 3 solos, but I think that the second one is the best and my favorite. I like how it picks up tempo and crescendos. Also, the melody is nice. High A tier. Finishing out the stage, we have Exist. I don't know how many solos there are in this song, to be entirely honest. All the instrumentation is phenomenal though, so I'm giving it all a collective A.
Starting out, we have Game Over. The solo is cool with the effects Sin uses with the Sistaniac on his guitar, but other than that, the solo doesn't speak to me that much. High C tier. Next we have Mattel. I find the effect on Sin's guitar on the solo genuinely so cool. Other than that, not much is going on. High B tier.
Next up is Nobody. I think this is probably the most technical and difficult Sinister Gates solo, and not only is it difficult, but it's amazing too. S tier, this solo is truly iconic. Next up is We Love You, unpopular opinion, but I think every single guitar part in this song is amazing, including the solo. I love the unhinged feel of it. It's not quite iconic though, middle A tier.
Next is Cosmic S tier, no explanation needed. You already knew it was an S before clicking on the video. Next up is Beautiful Morning. This solo is alright. It really just doesn't do anything for me personally. B tier.
Next we have Easier. I do personally like this solo and all the background noises and effects that go on during it. I just can put it in A tier, so it's going in B. Next is G. I don't think that the intro sequence is considered a guitar solo, so I'll rate the later solo. I personally really don't like this solo due to the way it sounds and sits in the mix. Sorry, but D tier. Lastly, up to date, we have Ordinary. I personally love this solo, from the way the tone sounds to the notes used. It's an S tier for me. Well then, that's my A7X solos tier list. Here's the full list with a few minor finishes. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments how I did and what your favorite A7X solo is and why. I would love to know.
Kablamo!